Folks, I told you what was going on here. I told you what was at play, what has been happening in terms of these crazy, deranged white supremacists and what their agenda is and what their focus is and everything that they have done since January 20th. DEI, 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 DEI. So you got to understand something. First attacks with Black Lives Matter. Then the next attacks, critical race theory. Then it was woke. Now it's DEI. All of that for them means black. Black first and foremost. So understand something. Today, a news conference took place 14 hours after a Black Hawk helicopter, a military helicopter, collided with an American Airlines regional jet not far from the White House at DCA. I don't call it Reagan. I call it by his airport code. At DCA Airport. And this is what Donald Trump, this is what J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Sean Duffy had to say.
We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there. When I arrived in 2016, I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence. And we didn't really have that, and we had it. And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite.
So Donald Trump is saying that if you're disabled, you can't sit at a chair and watch a monitor as planes are landing and taking off. That it requires you to be physically imposing and muscular and strong. That's what he's saying. But that wasn't the only stupidity. Here's the grossly unqualified, the most unqualified vice president we've ever had. Here's J.D. Vance.
Something the president said that I think bears re-emphasizing, which is that when you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there. And I think that is a core part of what President Trump is going to bring and has already brought to Washington, D.C. is we want to hire the best people because we want the best people at air traffic control, and we want to make sure we have enough people at air traffic control who are actually competent to do the job. If you go back to just some of the headlines over the past 10 years, you have many hundreds of people suing the government because they would like to be air traffic controllers, but they were turned away because of the color of their skin. That policy ends under Donald Trump's leadership because safety is the first priority of our aviation industry.
Y'all didn't catch that. Air traffic controllers, people who want to be an air traffic controller, they've sued. They've sued because of the color of their skin. Y'all need to see, y'all always got to pay attention. He didn't say gender. He didn't say sexuality. It was the color of their skin. Y'all know it ain't that many black and brown air traffic controllers, right? We're not done yet. Here is the former TV host, who's now the Secretary of Defense, Peter Hegseth. Listen to the racism in his statement.
We will have the best and brightest in every position possible. As you said in your inaugural, it is colorblind and merit-based. The best leaders possible, whether it's flying Black Hawks and flying airplanes, leading platoons, or in government. The era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department, and we need the best and brightest, whether it's in our air traffic control, or whether it's in our generals, or whether it's throughout government.
Y'all didn't catch that? Skin color. Black people. Latinos. He talking about y'all too. Brown people. He talking about Cambodians. He talking about Asians. Native Americans. He talking about everybody who ain't white. But white women, he really talking about y'all too. Here is former reality show member, Sean Duffy, who is now the Secretary of Transportation.
When we deal with safety, we can only accept the best and the brightest in positions of safety that impact the lives of our loved ones, our family members. And I think you make a really important point on that, Mr. President. That is the motto of your presidency, the best and the brightest, the most intelligent coming into these spaces.
They are implying that the pilots of the American Airlines plane, and the pilots of the Black Hawk, and the air traffic controllers, grossly unqualified, awful, shameful, despicable. That's what they're saying. Watch this. He was asked, so a reporter asked him later, again, about DEI. Listen to what the con man says.
On DEI and the claims that you've made, are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power. You have to go by psychological quality. And psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that. We're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior. And that's what we're going to have. Yeah.
I want y'all to hear that. We're going to look into that. But you're out talking, quack, 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 opining on what happened. Bodies are still in the Potomac, y'all. They have not recovered all. This is a live shot of the recovery effort. The bodies have not been recovered. But it was 7-8 hours ago that these idiots were saying this. That wasn't the only question. Caitlin Collins of CNN also asked him a question regarding this. And let me play it. Listen to this.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference?
Does it comfort their families?
They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question.
But are you
not a smart question. Are you getting ahead of this? Bitches, that's always him being bitchy and complaining about the media when these things happen. It goes further. Y'all, he literally, this is like a while ago. He signs an executive order blaming President Biden and DEI for the crash. Did y'all hear what I just said? He signs an executive order. So he's already decided that the crash is completely Joe Biden's fault and all because of DEI. Watch this.
Sir, thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything.
Republican Party.
Now, we literally have incompetent people trying to assess other people's competence. That's literally what we have here. On Maria Bartiromo's Fox News show, Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, one of the dumbest members of Congress. What did he immediately rush to? That damn DEI.
Is there any reason to believe there was any foul play here?
Well, you know, at this time, you hate to jump to any conclusions. Obviously, we'll look at everything.
Stop. At this time, we hate to jump to conclusions, but what the hell? Let me jump away. Go.
All the boxes, you know, I had just taken off from D.C. Before the crash, and of course it came across my cell phone, and I saw it and was horrified. So prayers go out to all those impacted. But, you know, to your point, I think you have to look at this with eyes wide open, see what happened. You know, human error, was it some sort of equipment failure? Did DEI play a role in this type of thing? So I think you look at it, you go into it with, again, eyes wide open and make sure that something like this never happens. It's been a number of years since we've had an aircraft collision such as this. And so, again, prayers for all those impacted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, haven't had one since 2009, but oh, it's that damn DEI that just did it, Now, this is how they're operating. Just the other day, Carolyn Levitt, who they're hailing as the youngest White House press secretary ever, who's an idiot who got them a federal restraining order yesterday when it came to one of their policies because of her dumbass tweets. This was heard just a couple days ago from the White House podium talking about wokeness.
So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies.
Ooh, all that wokeness. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic minority leader in the House, he's actually in California. I was texting him earlier. He was meeting with families in Altadena who've been impacted by the fires there. He dropped this video on social media.
Above DCA airport. Lives have been lost. Families have been devastated. People are suffering. And the leader of this country decides to go out and peddle lies, conspiracy theories, and attack people of color and women without any basis whatsoever. Have you no decency? Have you no respect for the families whose lives have been turned upside down?
Folks, there were tweets there. Former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. As a matter of fact, there was a point in the news conference. Y'all let me know when you have it, when Donald Trump literally said, just called it was bullshit, his leadership there. This is what Buttigieg tweeted out today. Go ahead and pull it up. He said, no, I need Buttigieg's tweet, y'all. Come on. Let's go. Pete Buttigieg's tweet. Let's go. All right, here's the tweet. Despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew air traffic control, and had no commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he would do to prevent this from happening again. Pollster Cornell Belcher tweeted this out. You can get the Cornell Belcher tweet, and then after him, you're going to get the Ilhan Omar tweet. Belcher, America deserves better than this. To use this tragedy to push a blatant and racial political agenda is absolutely appalling. It's not okay. It's abhorrent. It's unimaginable that a president would stand before us and dishonor the role of the office this way, not us. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac. Donald Trump and his grossly incompetent administration are blaming this deadly crash on DEI priorities in white women. This is disgusting, racist, and sexist. They're foolish actions have consequences and they should be held accountable. Here is freshman Congressman Shamari Figures. He posted this tweet as well. Ensuring qualified candidates have a fair chance in employment had nothing to do with last night's tragic plane crash. President Trump's statements are classic race baiting, and that rhetoric is dangerous and unacceptable. And he goes on there as well. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson of Florida, she also posted this tweet talking about what took place. While human bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac, Donald Trump is blaming white women and minorities for the deadly crash under the guise of DEI. Former DNC chair, still current DNC chair, Jamie Harrison put this up, posted this on social. Words can't express my disgust in a moment in which you should lead the nation in mourning and navigating a tragedy. This heartless imbecile finds ways to divide. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she posted this on social media as well. This is a blatant lie and a disgrace to the memories of the victims while emergency responders are still recovering people's loved ones in the freezing water. Trump is using these families' pain for politics and blaming their deaths on DEI. That's right. She called it a failure of leadership. She's absolutely right. I'm going to bring in my panel right now. Nola Haynes, Dr. Nola Haynes, Georgetown University School of Foreign Service. Joining us from D.C., Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University from D.C. Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show, joining us out of D.C. as well. Reese, I'll start with you. Racist, sexist, it's very simple. This ain't hard to figure out. That's exactly what it is. They stood there having no information on what took place, no idea about mechanical failure, no idea about communications failure, nothing about it. In fact, for the people who are wondering, here are the photos of the pilot. The father of the pilot posted this, talking about his pain of losing his son. So you see right here, you see the pilots, you see the flight attendants as well. One of them is an African-American sister. Do y'all have the image that they posted of the actual, right? This is the photo right here of one of the three personnel in the Black Hawk helicopter. And so we don't know who the FAA flight control person was. But the reality is, it's all DEI white people with the pilots in the planes. But let's blame it on the black people, because that sells well to the white people who voted for us and put us here in the first place.
Right. First of all, let me just say my heart goes out to the victims and their families of this very tragic, horrific accident that should not be political fodder right now. But since Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and JD Vance want to go there, fuck you, Donald Trump, fuck you, Pete Hegseth, and fuck you, JD Vance, and fuck everybody down with this bullshit. But my message is really to MAGA. You know, what this whole episode reveals, white MAGA people and MAGA people all together, is how lowly Donald Trump and them really view y'all. They think y'all are so fucking stupid, so underdeveloped in terms of your brain and your capacity to critically analyze a situation, that they can throw out buzzwords and dog whistles like DEI when they really want to say the N-word, and you're going to be satisfied. You're going to find comfort in the idea that you are safe in these skies as long as a black person, which is statistically lower, likely to happen, is behind the wheel. As long as it's a white man, you're going to be good. And that's such a fucking cop-out. It's actually really ridiculous that they think, and they might be justified in thinking this. I don't know. Y'all ain't really shown us that you that any smarter than what they give you credit for. But they think that they can get out of this without being held accountable for the fact that Elon Musk beefing with the FAA head is why he resigned, reportedly, on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration. They didn't bother to put somebody in there to be acting FAA chief. Why Donald Trump got rid of the TSA head, why they put an indiscriminate hiring freeze on the entire government, which impacted the ability to staff air traffic controllers and the FAA. They're hoping that your bigotry and your stupidity is going to be enough to get you to not notice that they are ill-equipped to handle the challenges that this country faces. They're not getting up there talking about, do we need better technology on our military aircraft? Do we need better technology on our airplanes? Do we need better technology in terms of how we route this very complex system of flight patterns and DCA? No, they're not talking about none of that shit. They're talking about motherfucking DEI. Are you kidding me right now? So as much as this is an attack on the intellect and the capabilities of Black people, Black, Latino, Asian, or whoever else situation may be, which, by the way, there were victims of every race and creed and gender and nationality even on these aircrafts, but I guess their lives don't matter.
No.
While they think that that is going to console you, they're unserious about tackling the challenges. And that is more detrimental to our country and our safety than any stupid ass and racist propaganda that they want to perpetuate.
So I want to remind people, Charlie Kirk, who is a big time Trump supporter, has his ear. Remember the racist crap that he said before, which Elon Musk also, when he questioned the intellect of HBCU graduates and airline programs at HBCUs? Here is the racism of Trump MAGA supporter Charlie Kirk. This is a year ago. Matter of fact, it's dated January 23rd, 2024.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate. No,
you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality.
Absolute bullshit, Nola. That's exactly what he believes, and it's exactly what a lot of other white people believe. Because if they see somebody Black, or they see a woman, or see Latino, Asian American, how they think, if I don't see a white man, then, we're in trouble. That's what they think about engineering. I have talked to numerous Black lawyers how they walk into the room and they assume that they were staff. We know this when it comes to Black doctors. This is the master race ideology of Donald Trump, MAGA, and today's Republican Party.
Absolutely. We are 100% talking about eugenics. We are talking about the 1800s with Francis Galton rolling out the idea of eugenics, positive and negative eugenics, in terms of the bad stuff, the negative stuff that happens when you're not white and when you're breeding, versus the positive stuff that happens when you're white and when you're breeding. We are literally there. They are saying the thing out loud, and the gaslighting part of it is to basically convince you that actually I'm not being racist. I'm just really concerned. I want everyone to be safe, and I want the best people to have, to have the job. I'm not really being racist. Honestly, I've said this before. I'm going to continue saying it. It really just is plain old racism. And I have somewhat of a prediction. As a political scientist, that's not something that we're supposed to do. But you know what's going to happen eventually? All of these blatant racists, all of them, at some point where this turns around, they are going to look in a camera and try to convince everybody that they did not say what they have said with their entire chest. And sometimes I even wonder if Trump's people really like him, because it's like, do y'all really think this agenda, this anti-DEI, which basically means anti-Black, anti-gay, anti-woman, anti-brown, anti-all the things but straight white Christian males, how long do y'all think that this country is going to be okay with this? I mean, and that is a very serious question, because at some point, this will turn around. You are going to blame over 60 people losing their lives on DEI before you have the facts. And now it's come out that there was an overworked air traffic controller doing the job of two people at once. And I'm not saying that is the cause. I am saying there's a correlation, not necessarily causation. So you are going out on the presidential podium and you have all of your jackboot thugs around you to support your racism, to support your anti-DEI, your anti-Blackness, your anti-wokeness. to support those claims without evidence, without an investigation. And I want to say this. It is disgusting that a president of the United States, that the Secretary of Defense is saying this about not just civilians, but people in the military that lost their lives. I have never in my life seen people so disrespectful of the military, of national security. And I truly hope not only just the flight community, but I also hope the military community stands up. I've seen a few names out there, talking about this administration being a national security risk. I mean, people like me have been saying that over and over and over. But y'all, they don't just hate Black people. They really don't like Americans. They don't like democracy. They don't like rule of law. They don't like any of it.
Well, here's
go ahead, Roland.
But here's the reality. Here's the reality. This is what they want, Greg. And no, I gotta disagree. This is exactly who his supporters want. This is exactly what they want. This is exactly what they voted for. He said the exact same things. I laid it out in White Fear. Title, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. This is exactly it. And what they're doing is they're showing their contempt. They don't care about 2043. They do understand America is changing. They're saying, no. This is white land. This is ours. Everything is ours. The money is ours. The power is ours. The jobs are ours. Everything is ours. Y'all are meant to be subservient. You are meant to be sharecroppers. You are meant to be slaves without shackles. And there are Black people, if skin folk ain't kinfolk. Remember, Charlie Kirk said that. But remember what that hateful ass Candace Owens had to say. The exact same thing. Listen.
Unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more Black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys.
Now, again, we know, Greg, we all know. I mean, if we sat here and pulled the record of plane crashes in America dating back 30, 40 years, we're going to see nearly all white pilots. If we pull the records of who were the air traffic controllers when those crashes happened, it's a good bet that list is going to be nearly all white. We can go on and on. We can talk about food poisoning. We can talk about, we can go on and on and on in America. It's white folks. If we want to talk about white collar crimes and Ponzi schemes and bankrupting people, it's going to be mostly a white dude at the helm of it. But for them, oh no, anything that's gone wrong, it's those damn Black people. It's those damn women. It's white women, because when they say Black, if you're a Black woman, you're in the Black category. It's those damn Latinos. This is absolutely sickening to their base. It's them. They are grossly unqualified. They are dumb. They are evil. They don't know shit. We can't trust them with anything. So only give them menial jobs, because the only people who can do anything right and just, who is superior, who has the intellect, who has the psychological awareness, the only people who can do those things are our robust, strong, Christian, heterosexual white men.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Square-jawed, right stuff.
Boom.
Right, man.
Boom. Square-jawed, right stuff. That's the movie. That's the astronaut movie.
Yes.
The movie. There you go. And guess what? Black astronauts could not qualify. Go ahead, Greg.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And of course, that's who probably most of the folks watching today. Well, a lot of people probably remember Dick Tracy. If this were a Dick Tracy cartoon, of course, we would refer to Charlie Kirk as Littleface. So anybody listening to Littleface. But yeah.
Well, actually, I disagree. The people who are listening are those white boys in fraternities and on campuses, because those incels and what's trapping them, or that black boy with the shooting in Nashville who listened to them and listened to Candace Owens. Oh, yeah, that's who they're talking to.
I definitely would agree with that. And that's who is, as you say, the lie. That is the lie, and that is the hope that they are peddling. Because in the short term anyway, Donald Trump's protestations just before the election notwithstanding, you do have to vote for elective office. And to get those millions, you have to peddle that hope. You have to peddle that lie that this is a white person's country. And as you say, you can leave those jobs to them. Unfortunately, all four of us have probably experienced this over the last couple of weeks. I certainly experienced it even as late as today when I walked in a store, and a Continental African sister who's been working there for a long time with a lot of folk from Spanish-speaking communities said to me when I asked, where is everybody? She said, my coworkers don't want to come to work. They're afraid. And so I talked to Benny Thompson yesterday, who said he had one of his constituents call his office in Mississippi crying for help. Now, this is someone who probably did not vote for him, didn't vote for Kamala Harris, but someone who woke up last week to find that his crop is not now being tended. Why? Because everybody's gone. So, the work that they will do, you and the hillbilly horde, you're not getting a chance. Get the calluses up on your hands, because you got to go pick some fruit, my friend. But, as we heard that racist talk, and then Littleface and others talking, it made me think about the fact, I remember a couple of summers ago, every August we go to Egypt. We take folks to Egypt on tour. And we took a charter. We chartered a plane to go from Aswan to Abu Simbel, just above the border with the Sudan, to go see the Temple of Abu Simbel, Ramses II, and Nefertari. And as we were getting off the plane, I heard the folk in front of me cheering. Now, these are Africans from the United States, who we go to Egypt a lot, but they were cheering because they had seen something that we haven't seen in all the years. I've been going to Egypt since, 2007, and taking students, and then now lots of other people since then. For the first time, we saw something that we hadn't seen, certainly hadn't seen in the United States. It was a woman pilot. And it was like, wow. So everybody, one by one, we almost got delayed heading to the temple because everybody wanted to take a picture with this sister. Now let's go back to Littleface and Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all their friends. Whatever happens to you really is of no concern to me. The only concern I have is as it impacts me and my people and human beings. You are beyond contempt. You're beneath contempt. As Reese said, you hustled the FAA head out, talking crazy about him because it was messing with your business and your mind. And Dr. Haynes, as Nola said, you've got overworked people in the tower. The FAA released a report just before you went on air, Roland, saying exactly right, that you had someone who was working in really two jobs, one dealing with helicopters, the other one dealing with training flights and things like that. And then, I was reading something by David Susi, who is a retired FAA investigator. And he was saying today that DCA, and you're absolutely right, Roland, nobody black calls it by the R word, that curse word. Nobody calls it that. Certainly, I learned that when I moved to DC, and they're like, we don't call it. I was, oh, God, hey, no problem. You ain't got to tell me but once. But he was saying that not only is DCA one of the busiest airports in the world, it is absolutely the most complicated, because they add those airspaces are shared with military aircraft, VIP flights, White House transportation, drones flying clandestine operations. If you fly out of DCA at a certain time, like tomorrow, Friday, you get there in the afternoon, you're going to see half of Congress. That's when they going home. And so when you think about that, and you think about the fact after the Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Act of 2024 added 10 additional daily flights to the schedule, and all four senators from Virginia and from Maryland protested because they said, you don't understand, you have a perfect storm for accidents. And that man stood up today, finally, and did what we all know he does. He moved in the direction of white nationalism for political gain. His base is going to be his base.
Yep.
And since it's going to be its base, the rest of us have to decide what we will do to stop him. Because guess what? The world isn't waiting on us to stop him. All the leaders of the Caribbean and Latin American countries were supposed to meet today, but they canceled the meeting, and the headlines in the United States were that they bucked to Trump. No, they didn't buck to Trump, fool. They have phones. The world is organizing. The only question we got to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do? Because they're getting ready to leave us in the dirt.
See, I need everybody to understand. I'm telling you. I mean, y'all, all y'all folks who are listening, and I see it's 10,000. This the most we've had on our YouTube channel live at one time in a number of months. This thesis, white fear, I have been speaking on this nationally in speeches on television and radio since 2009. I literally said to John Avalon at CNN, who's now a member of Congress, John, this is in 2009. I said, we're in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. Y'all need to understand what's at play. What you heard today, what you've seen with all these executive orders and policies, it is white minority resistance. They are scared to death of the nation becoming majority white. But they don't have to worry about that because you got a lot of Latinos who are calling themselves white Hispanics. See, we got to understand what's at play. And everybody who's watching, I had somebody say today, somebody said that they had 2 Black History Month speeches that were canceled. They said, keep the money, just don't show up. Somebody else said that several speakers bureaus have said that Black History Month bookings are down up to 70%. Same is going to take place next month, Women's History Month. What you have going on is you now have corporations, they're attacking the affinity groups. So the groups in companies and the federal government of Black employees and Latino employees and gay employees and women employees, I laid out last week that they are attacking the civil rights infrastructure because what they're angry about are the gains since white people in this country, namely white men, are pissed off right now because they have to compete. They're angry. See, everybody who's watching, y'all got to understand. Let me walk y'all through because I don't think a lot of people understand what I'm talking about here. If we talk about Title IX, which was passed in 72, that is a provision of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That law is built around the 64 Civil Rights Act. The law targeted colleges that receive federal funding, research, and they said, y'all can't be discriminating against women. You getting federal dollars. Senator Ted Kennedy led that law. That law is the reason you have seen female doctors, female engineers, female lawyers. It opened the professional schools up. The 1996 American with Disabilities Act, that law was passed. That law, which called for accessibility and ramps and all sorts of things to aid the disabled. Do y'all know what the underpinning of the 1996 Civil Rights Act is? The 1996 American with Disabilities Act, the underpinning of that is the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Why do they hate the 1965 Voting Rights Act? Because that today is how Latinos and Koreans and Chinese and Cambodians and Taiwanese can vote in their native language because of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Why do they hate the Fair Housing Act? Because you couldn't have covenants. You couldn't have your racially restrictive neighborhoods, redlining, all those things. Who supported a law in California that said we don't have to sell our homes to black people? Ronald Reagan, who was elected governor of California, who was elected president, who before Trump was the biggest Republican hero in history, even before Abe Lincoln. I need all y'all watching to understand what's going on. The right in this country, the white right in this country, have been pissed off because this nation was forced to live up to its creed. All men and women are created equal. They hated that. What did Dr. King say? Be true to what you put on paper. And the civil rights infrastructure has been forcing America to be true to what you put on paper. And they are pissed. And they are angry. And they are upset. And I need y'all, during the news conference, I know some of y'all are saying, Roland, I don't understand. Why did he attack Pete Buttigieg so viciously? Pete Buttigieg is a white man, but he gay. They like, nah, we ain't down with gay white men. Listen to this.
A website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation is government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So
now, yeah, that's what that was. So that was, I'm gonna attack him because he's gay. I'm gonna attack him because he worked for Democrats. And so that's what all this was about. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You heard what we just talked about there. Folks, I can't reiterate this enough. Listen to me clearly. I cannot reiterate this enough. When you've got technology companies running scared, when you've got legacy media not doing their job, when you've got black-owned media that is disintegrated, now is more than ever for us to have independent media that cares about the truth, that is willing to say what needs to be said. So when you support Roland Martin Unfiltered, this show, when you support the Black Star Network, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the other shows. Our goal is to add 2 more shows this year. We want additional shows. We want more weekly and daily shows because we want to be able to speak truth to power. We want to be able to say what is necessary where other people are scared. And when you are scared, when you're looking over your shoulder, oh my God, that advertising contract is not going to come in. Well, guess what? A lot of these major ad agencies, they're not even supporting us anyway. You know, in 6 years of doing this show, Group M hasn't done a damn thing with us. Publicis hasn't done anything with us. You've got Horizon, you've got all of these folks, they haven't done jack. And so we are calling it like we see it, and we're speaking truth. And unlike some of these other so-called progressives and people who believe in truth, I'm not running around trying to kiss MAGA ass and kiss Trump's ass. I won't be going to Mar-a-Lago, not for a damn thing. And so this is about us being able to speak truth. So when you support this show and this network with your resources, that is exactly what is happening, because we are trying to build something that is bigger and broader, and actually it has the courage to say what needs to be said, even when it makes other folk uncomfortable. If you want to contribute giving Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. This is it right here. And if you are listening, simply go to blackstarnetwork.com to check it out. Also, if you want to see your check and money order, some of y'all old school, we understand that. See your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And again, folks, we've got some 4 million social media followers, If only 20,000 of our fans contribute at least $50 each, which comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day, that's $1 million. It allows us to be able to continue to build, to add these shows and do the work that's required. So your support is needed. So please join our Bring the Funk fan club today. If you've not already joined, if you have given to us in the past, please renew your commitment, because it's important that we support Black-owned media, because Black-owned media matters.